Hello and welcome back to Games Embassy with the Ambassadors of Gaming and one of your two hosts, Ambassador Chris.
And I am Ambassador Michael.
And we have news about stuff, and it is actually a very important day. We are going to kind of blow through this intro a little bit because it's actually our second time recording this because I didn't hit the record button.
Rookie mistake.
And I'm upset about it. Anyway, Mike, why don't you go ahead and take us to our plug?
So we have joined Patreon. In case you were curious, we were already on Patreon. However, our Patreon was very vague and bland, and there really wasn't much to it. We have now.
There was no reason for you to donate.
Now it's more of a transaction, whereas when you decide to sign up, you'll get something in return. I mean, granted, we felt you already did in the first place because we put everything on YouTube, but YouTube is its own monster. We're not talking about that. So you get some perks if you want to go over to Patreon and sign up. We have 3 tiers currently. The top tier will get you early access to this podcast here. You'll get it on Monday instead of Wednesday. The 2 preceding tiers will allow you to get your comments and questions read. And the $1, the entry level, will get you access to all the exclusive content that's only going to be on Patreon. So those that are worried, however, we still will be putting stuff on YouTube and Facebook. We won't be doing it as frequently with random videos or like video essays. Those will either go to Patreon first or stay on Patreon. I think right now we're just going to keep them on Patreon because they don't do huge traffic to begin with. And the people that are most concerned with our content are already on Patreon. Our biggest supporter is on there, which we wanted to thank him personally as well.
Yeah, and that's my job. Thank you very much, Case Hansen. You are our very first Patreon supporter. We're really grateful for you. Like, super grateful. We've had our Patreon up forever, and ever since Mike redid this video format, because if you don't know, that even though I'm here and I may talk a little bit more, Mike is actually the head of this thing. Mike's the one that puts it all together. So clearly what he's doing is working. Thank you so much for your contribution.
We appreciate you very much, and we hope you enjoy.
You are loved. You are loved. All right, let's go to some updates.
Again, Alien Blackout. One more time. Coming to consoles, maybe, possibly. Foxnext spoke to DualShockers, stating that there may be a possibility that the game comes to console, but if they did, they would prioritize Nintendo Switch.
Which it should.
Quote, I think Switch is a good one to bring up, and we've certainly seen many games go from mobile to console, or more likely, console to mobile. If I had to pick a platform, I would put it, Alien Blackout, on, I'd pick Switch. End quote. This is likely due to the Switch being easier to port to, due to the game being on mobile and the Switch having touch screen controls.
Yeah, the Switch is the perfect place for indies, and I know some people think that might be a curse, but I don't think that's the case. Nintendo has some really great games they're coming out for. One of their launch titles for the Switch was Game of the Year. So
that's true.
There has never been a better time to buy the Switch. You've got a huge choice of just the first party games. Smash just came out. People still play Mario Kart, Mario Party, and then a whole bunch of really good indies. Celeste. Why not get this possibly underperforming Alien sort of sequel too? It's not underperforming, but it certainly wasn't well received. It was received as well as the Diablo Immortal.
Yeah. Shocker. Bringing mobile games of franchises that main console or PC players like to mobile turns out real well, apparently.
Is this a bad joke? Is this just a really bad joke?
It's just the timeline we live in. It's something.
If you're wondering what I'm saying, I'm quoting when Diablo Immortal was revealed. There were people that seriously went, is this a joke? Are you just joking? Is this an early April Fool's joke? Which is kind of sad. It kind of makes you feel bad for...
I felt bad for the developers, honestly, at that point.
Yeah, because they probably worked so hard, and then just these people come out of nowhere and just crap all over it. But, all right, moving on. Update number 2. Ubisoft's tease space game Pioneer is probably canceled, which sucks. Pioneer was the space game teased within Watch Dogs 2. Ex-Ubisoft game director Alex Hutchison tweeted out, "Rip Pioneer," with a crying emoji, with a link to a YouTube video that shows the tease, basically. So we can assume that it's going to be disappearing. And doesn't surprise me, because space games either aren't really done well, they pull a No Man's Sky and they take 2 years to be good, or they just get canceled. Or they could be like Star Citizen, and you can pre-order a plot of land in a digital game.
You can pre-order the title to a plot of land.
Oh yeah, pre-order the title. I'm sorry. Pre-order the title for the plot of land.
Oh my god. Star Citizen's a joke. Battlefield 5 has delayed their microtransactions. Oh no, whatever will we do?
How are they living?
Oh no, EA's developers are gonna go broke. Oh no, the EA's gonna have to shut down.
EA's developers.
DICE is gonna have to shut down. Oh no. Battlefield 5 did not launch with microtransactions, however, as planned. They decided to fix the in-game economy, basically, and make sure that everyone was up to par in understanding what the economy was going to be like, whether or not they felt it was fair and balanced. And they were going to introduce the microtransactions to be used to buy cosmetics, and was scheduled originally for the 18th of January. The team at DICE decided, however, to delay the microtransactions due to a bug where players were unable to earn in-game currency after reaching the maximum multiplayer rank.
That's not a bug. That's not a bug. That's just being Battlefront 2. That's it.
Spend money.
Boom. 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 Speaking of EA, we're going to go ahead and move on to news. EA cancels its open world Star Wars game. If you're wondering if that sounds familiar, you are absolutely right. According to a report from Kotaku's Jason Schreier, EA has canceled EA Vancouver's open world game, the game that used assets from the late Visceral Studios' canceled linear Star Wars story game. This marks the second time that this game, or game with this assets, has been canceled. EA hopes to have a game come out from that studio in late 2020, early 2021. EA has made a statement since then. Quote, "There's been speculation overnight about one of our Star Wars projects. As a natural part of the creative process, the great work by our team in Vancouver continues and will evolve into future Star Wars games and content. We're fully committed to making more Star Wars games. We're very excited about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order from Respawn, and we'll share more about our new projects when the time is right. As far as we know, no one has been laid off as of now." Which I think is is the minimum you should shoot for when it comes to an EA game being canceled.
That's really true, because last time they canceled the game, they just shut the whole studio down.
Yeah, we're going to cancel your game.
And you're all fired. Bye.
Yeah, and you're all fired, and we're just going to kick you in the crotch too, just for good measure.
I don't know if you've ever heard this, but Jim Sterling likes to call EA Unichronic Arts due to, their unichronic nature.
Oh, that's so good.
Isn't it? It's brilliant. Anyways.
That's amazing. I need to go comment on one of his videos just to say that's amazing. That's awesome. Unichronic Arts.
Probably like one of the best things I've ever heard about EA. But honestly, apparently the developers at EA are taking care of when they do work for EA, before they shut somebody down. But real quick, the Star Wars thing, man, I don't know. Disney's got to be mad, right? Like Disney gave them one of their most valuable licenses, if not their most valuable license.
You could argue the most important license as of right now.
Right. One of the most important licenses in all of media. And EA is just like, yeah, well, we apparently can't get it right. So
we're going to release one game, have everyone... Well, they released Battlefront 1 as well, right?
They released Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2.
Battlefront 1 was considered to be very bare bones. There wasn't much to do in it.
People were very upset by the lack of content and the $50 season pass.
The gameplay, though, I read that the gameplay wasn't that bad of Battlefront 1. And even Battlefront 2, I read the actual gameplay, if you take away, if everyone has like the same person and no one has any stupid advantages from loot boxes, that the gameplay was actually pretty solid.
Right. I remember playing the beta for Battlefront 1, and I was like, this is solid. It looks really nice. It's solid. But even after playing the beta, I was like, I'm kind of bored. Like, I was like, I've had enough of this.
But we know EA doesn't care. They'll sell you a $50 season pass and then not give you anything.
They gave you stuff. They let you finish the game, basically.
Tell you what, why don't you just pay, it'll start being like the TV advertisements. You can buy Star Wars Battlefront 2 for 8 easy payments of $59.99.
Bought the collector's edition. That sucks. Doesn't have the season pass. Yeah, pretty much. Jesus.
1/4 portion. I love that meme so much. All right, go ahead and move us on to our second piece of news, Michael.
Game Freak, the Pokemon developer, has announced that Giga Wrecker will be coming to consoles. It will be coming to the PS4, the Xbox One, and Switch. Limited Run Games will also be making physical versions of the game for PS4 and Switch. I always find it weird that I rarely see Limited Run Games print games for Xbox. I'm assuming the demand just isn't there. That would be my guess.
I don't, you know what, that's a really good point. I don't know exactly. We know that, I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact just that PS4 is kind of the dominating.
I'm just not sure because even with Celeste I assume was released on Xbox, yeah, because Celeste is in Games with Gold for January.
It was free on Xbox.
Actually, yeah. So it was on Xbox. They never released it on Xbox physically. They released it on Switch and PS4 just like this. So maybe it's just not that popular with Xbox gamers.
For the Switch cartridge, I was going to argue, it'd be nice because the Switch doesn't have all that much space, but I'm pretty sure they still make you install. I'm pretty sure Switch still makes you install the game even if you get the cartridge.
I think you have to install updates to the game to your Switch.
Oh, you're right. You don't have to download the game per se, but you do. But all the updates are native to your Switch.
Right, they're not downloaded to the card.
That makes sense.
Or they're downloaded, to your internal storage. It's weird. Anyways, yeah, so Game Freak's got this. I didn't even realize this game came out. Apparently it came out in 2017.
You don't remember this? We talked about this.
No, this completely flew under my radar. I forgot about it. To be fair, we do a weekly news show.
Yeah, because I remember I was blown away because the only thing you ever hear from Game Freak is Pokemon.
They have this now in Town, right?
Oh, I forgot about Town.
Or like their 2 non-Pokemon games. They made something else. Was it Tempo?
I don't remember. I feel bad for not knowing.
The elephant game? I think it was Tempo, the elephant game. Anyways, let's move on to our next one, and I'll look that up while we're...
All right, you ready? So Netflix says it's competing with Fortnite. I think everyone is, personally. I think everyone is competing with Fortnite. I think Netflix is. I think YouTube is. Well, I guess there's an argument to be made there that Fortnite's helping YouTube. You know who's really fighting Fortnite though? The high school girlfriends.
That's a valid concern. Have you seen the Fortnite videos? Have you ever seen come across those while you're just perusing the internet? Of no, people it's so them. Bad. It's so bad. These children and teenagers are so bad when they get fucked with. It's I don't know, it's so bad. Because our parents used to do that shit to us all the time. They'd be like, I said enough, and they would just turn all your shit off.
Oh, I have seen one of those videos where there's a challenge now. Turn off the TV when your kid's playing Fortnite and see what happens.
Yeah, it's some Jimmy Kimmel thing, I think.
I have seen one of those.
Yeah, these kids go nuts.
So the actual news now. While Netflix has grown this quarter, which surprises me after how many of their good shows they've nuked, they wrote in the competitor section of their letter to investors that they felt as though there are more people they could have reached if they hadn't been playing Fortnite. As we know, games as a service can and does take up a lot of people's time. So, yeah, if you fall into that rabbit hole, Netflix is looking for you. They're searching those rabbit holes. I saw an amazing meme, and I have to tell you about it. It relates to Netflix. Okay. So, do you remember in the first Tobey Maguire movie where the guy falls out the window and he's like, "How about my uncle? Did you give him a chance?" Like, kind of thing. Okay. Well, as we all know, Disney's coming out with their streaming service next year, or this year. And the big reason that Netflix got a hold of bought some of, or I guess you could say rented some of the licenses from Marvel to make their Daredevil shows, Jessica Jones, all those shows, was because, Netflix they were trying to get more people to come to the platform. Well, now Disney's like, well, we don't want, because they own Marvel, like, we don't want our content on another streaming service. So we can't take it away from you because you already rented the license. What we can do is jerk up the prices really high. And that's why first it was Iron Fist. A week later it was Luke Cage that got canceled. And now just recently, after Daredevil Season 3 aired, which I'd like to point out, Daredevil Season 2 is the most watched season of anything on the entire platform, by the way. Daredevil got canceled, which made me sad. And the meme says, it has Netflix pasted over the criminal's face. He says, "Please don't cancel your subscription. Just give us a chance." And then it just has some guy goes, "What about Daredevil? Did you give him a chance?"
One of the things I read too about that contract is apparently after they get canceled, no one's allowed to use the actors for that show or for like 3 years or something.
Yeah, they can make their own show. But they can't use the same characters or anything. What Netflix could do is they could, ironically enough, turn the tables. They could license the characters out to Marvel that they've made, and then they could use them. But yeah, they can't just take Charlie Cox and dress him up as Daredevil the same way he was in the series and just put them in their streaming service. It doesn't work that way.
And they would have to do totally new storylines and a whole bunch of stuff. Basically, they can't even use the same actors, from my understanding.
No, they couldn't. And it kind of sucks because it's already confirmed that all those shows are in the Avengers universe. They talk about
they're in the MCU,
stuff like that. So you can't just dip out. But anyway, this is getting
a little off topic, but it's okay.
A little off topic. But so yeah, if you're playing Fortnite, Netflix is looking for you. They want you back. They miss you. They want you.
Real quick, just to
they want your money.
Really drive that point home. I don't know if you had seen this, but at one point when Wreck-It Ralph 2 was coming out and the promotional material was coming out for it, Disney actually had Wreck-It Ralph playing in Fortnite.
Wait, what?
In Fortnite, there used to be an area that was a drive-in movie theater, and it had a projector.
And they actually had Wreck-It Ralph playing?
And they had Wreck-It Ralph actually playing inside of Fortnite on that movie screen.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really funny. But anyways, yeah, let's move on. So number 4 here on the list, former Take-Two CEO Kelly Sumner wants to find the mid-tier games again.
Make mid-tier games great again.
I wanted to say that, but I didn't know if it was going to be too political. I was like, is this too far? Maybe.
Maybe, but either way, I said it.
It's too late now. So Sumner feels there's a whole section of games that are currently not being brought to consumers. He said, quote, Electronic Arts, Take-Two, Activision, etc., they are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a game, expecting to be getting, ellipses, billions. And the kind of middle where there's sort of really good, exciting games isn't there, end quote. Sumner clarifies, however, that he doesn't want to find the next Call of Duty. He would just like to help bring games that will be profitable in the millions instead of the billions to consumers. His company, Planet Digital Partners, is currently slated to publish 3 games: Cabela's The Hunt, Cooking Mama, and Bass Pro The Strike.
So I think this is very important. We went over this earlier just a little bit. EA, Activision, they care about really publishing the games that will make all the money. And if they don't make all of the money, they have no interest. They don't. So other smaller games, my best example, Celeste, as always. Celeste, when it was nominated for Game of the Year, it didn't get it, obviously. Everyone knew it wasn't going to get it. But when it was nominated for Game of the Year, people were going like, what's Celeste? And that's a problem. Celeste, because it was so much smaller, it was a really great indie, but almost no one knew about it because it doesn't get all the advertising. It doesn't get Battle Royale or something crammed down your throat about a season pass or this or that.
It was only word of mouth. That was the only way people really heard about it.
Exactly.
I think we mentioned earlier it was on Games with Gold this month. It was one of the free games. Yeah.
For Xbox, yeah. So if you...
I don't know if it's still available or not. It may not be.
Was it in December or was it in January?
It was one of the... You know how Games with Gold works. It's one of those weird where it only goes for like half the month or something. I think it was the first half of the month, so you may still be able to get it, but by the time this goes up, maybe not. Probably not. Anyways, yeah, the mid-tier, we took... On the first recording of this, we talked about it, and I used to play mid-tier games growing up, because mid-tier games, some of them would be cheaper. Rarely, but sometimes it would be cheaper. You'd find them for $40 brand new, and you're like, $40 for a brand new game. Your parents would be like, yeah, here, this is what you're getting. So I would play a bunch of those games, and they were usually not very good. If I just shoot straight with you guys, they were just not very fun to play. They were kind of like crappily put together. Like, they looked pretty, like they looked like a current, big AAA game, but they just played really badly. So like the three games specifically he mentioned here, Cabela's The Hunt. People actually buy those games a lot. The hunting games, they actually have like a pretty big fan base. It's weird. Like, you wouldn't think so, but they do. I'm totally fine with mid-tier games coming back, but they just have to be good. Like Darksiders 3 wasn't good, apparently.
I also, we talked about this a few times. Yeah, I was only hearing bad things about Darksiders.
Right. Is that it looked nice and it tried some things, but it wasn't the same as Darksiders 1 and 2. And not even in terms of whether or not it played the same, it just wasn't as good as those first two, which is sad. So, I don't know, maybe mid-tier games coming back is a good thing, but there was a reason they died out in the first place, in my opinion.
They need funding, too. Like I said, we have...
Right, they're expensive.
Yeah, but that's what I bring up. Activision and I almost said Infinity Ward. Activision and EA, they will give you all those dollars for publishing, but they only want to publish those games and give those games a lot of money if they're going to make all that money back. So you kind of reach that, well, no one wants to fund me, so how am I supposed to make money? And they're like, not our problem.
I think it's important to note that EA, Activision, Take-Two, and Ubisoft, a lot of their profit comes from microtransactions, not from sales. They make way more microtransactions than they do out of anything else. So they're making billions of dollars off of microtransactions every year. I think that also helps. I think of I'll use Cabela, The Hunt, for example. You could microtransaction the hell out of that game if you really wanted to.
You think so?
Microtransaction guns, microtransaction maps for hunting. You can microtransaction animals to hunt, microtransaction or make DLC for a new map, and then put more microtransactions for new creatures. So like, you really could monetize these things to hell if you really wanted to, but anything that's not a big AAA game rarely gets microtransactions like that. Like, you just don't really see it. Like, Celeste doesn't have microtransactions. They're giving you free DLC for Celeste. It's just kind of where we're at. That's all I have to say, honestly. Like, I'm trying to think if I have anything else to say. I'm like, nah, I think that's it. I think I got it all.
I think I broke this cup that was on my desk. I started playing with it. I'm pretty sure I just broke it.
I assume that when you're silent for long periods of time, it's because you're messing around with something on your desk.
No, okay, there's a lot on my desk.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I just broke the damn.
Oh my god.
I just got this cup. Oh no.
That's so funny.
Oh, why does God hate me?
I don't think he does.
Okay, I think I fixed it. I don't know. Time will tell. Jeez.
I would like you to tell me about Mortal Kombat.
So, Okay. Okay, no. Mike and I have this thing where Mike will sometimes run on and I try to stay focused, but I have ADHD, and if he goes on for a really long time, I'll start to get distracted. And then I just start messing with stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, now we're at the point in the show which we haven't recorded yet. All right, Mortal Kombat 11 has been revealed in all of its glory, featuring new characters, returning characters, a super convoluted story that neither Mike and I know. Oh, I just punched my mic. That's fun. Neither Mike and I know because we don't play Mortal Kombat. But we know that it's a big deal. Everyone is super pumped up. We know. So Mortal Kombat took a page out of NetherRealm's book. With the way they did Injustice, each character in the lineup will basically be a supporting character for a larger story with changing weaponry and cosmetics, this and that. Worthy note about the lineup, though, is that one of the characters has the ability to take time off or add time to the match clock, like 30 seconds, which is pretty broken. This is based off a video uploaded by a Twitter user, Ultra David. I like that.
Yeah, that's a pretty sweet Twitter name. Yep, Mortal Kombat is made by NetherRealm, still made by an Injustice developer. So the Injustice and Mortal Kombat usually share pretty similar tech, or they use the same engine, that kind of stuff. So when we saw Injustice 2, and you remember Injustice 2 when it came out was credited with having some of the best facial animations we've ever seen at that time. And so, people were really stoked on what Mortal Kombat was going to look like using the new engine. And did you see any of the footage?
Yes, I saw the footage.
Okay. Yeah, it looks crazy beautiful. And it's super freaking gory. It's like they really did turn it up to 11, no pun intended, like with the gore.
That's such a stupid pun, but that's awesome. I know you didn't intend that to be a pun, but that's awesome.
Like they really did just overdo it. Like one of the finishing moves, they punch somebody in the back of the head and their face literally like rips off.
Ew, dude.
Mortal Kombat is just absurd with how gory it is. But anyways, yeah, people were really excited about it because this was like the full reveal. And I think when they like revealed its existence, it was just to like get ahead of a leak, basically. So yeah, this is some weird time traveling story. So I'm not really involved in Mortal Kombat that much. I'm probably just gonna wait until like the Game of the Year edition comes out with all the characters from the DLC, because I don't care that much.
I'll just want to watch the story. I'm just gonna want to watch the story cutscenes. That's it.
That's fair. I really liked Injustice, so I think I'll probably give Mortal Kombat a chance. But like I said, I'm just gonna wait until the Game of the Year edition, because I bought Injustice 2 for full price with the DLC, and it was like $120. And then the Game of the Year edition came out like a year later, and it was $60. And I was like, I'll just wait. It's not that big of a deal, honestly. But it looks really cool. So I'm going to move on to the last piece of news. Yes, last piece of news. All right, wrapping it up. So bringing crossplay to Warframe is tempting, but complicated. Creative director Steve Sinclair, during a recent live stream, spoke on cross-platform play for Warframe. He said, quote, "As a player, I would love it. As a developer, it's one of the highest risk things we can do, because a lot of the games that are doing it, it's still very early days for this, a lot of those games came late to the platforms and had different negotiating environments to establish their contracts. On top of that, we are a game that is constantly changing. We change the game modes, we change the gameplay, we do huge swings constantly. So it is something that we're all interested in, and we do discuss it." He went on to say, however, that though this is something that they're looking into, he says, quote, "I don't think it is something that we can promise right now in January," end quote. And the last piece of news he really had regarding cross-platform, cross-progression was that they're looking into cross-progression, and they're very interested in creating cross-platform logins so they can, users can retain their progress and items. So I thought this was important.
That is so important to me.
Right. Cross-progression, I think, is way bigger to people than cross-play.
And I'm going to give a good example. I bought Destiny originally for the Xbox One before I had a PlayStation. And then Mike got me a PlayStation as a gift, a PS4, and I went and started playing. I was right at the beginning of Taken King, so I just got the Taken King edition and started playing on PlayStation to play with Mike and Justin. Now Destiny 2 comes out, and all my friends in the physics community at the college I go to, they all play on Xbox. So I'd totally be willing to buy the game again if I could play it on both platforms and just move my account between them. That's just me, especially for a free game like Warframe.
Right. From my understanding, Destiny. Right. That's an even bigger thing because you don't have to pay again, so there's no entry barrier. And especially because Warframe is, again, a free-to-play game where they're making their money off of microtransactions, and, extra purchases basically is what keeps them afloat. So you're spending all that money and then you can't move your stuff from platform to platform. That kind of sucks. That was like the big thing with Fortnite, where people were spending ridiculous amounts of money on skins and, they couldn't use them on all platforms, and they were like, this kind of sucks.
So when Fortnite came to Switch and PlayStation was like, yeah, your account's locked to PlayStation and PC, you can't play on Switch, it said, and they would basically put in the patch notes when the update going like, it's not possible to link these two accounts, support can't do anything to help you. It makes me wonder how many 10-year-olds or 15-year-olds called support because they can't get Fortnite running on their Switch.
Did you see that Epic actually got rated, by the Better Business Bureau? They got rated an F.
What? Why?
Because of that exact reason. Because people would call for Fortnite support, and they'd be like, "What do you like?" People just don't understand how digital games work in certain things. So like, they have their kids buying skins and shit, and they would call Epic back and be like, "Hey, like I needed refunds." So Epic came out with this policy where you can refund all of your purchases 3 times. 3 times they'll let you do this. So like, more than most places ever will. If you want to get refunded on Call of Duty purchases, good freaking luck. And so like Epic got an F because of the customer service, and it was always like, it's always something dumb, like somebody hacked my account or this or that, and Epic's like, we're doing what we can, but like we can't help everybody all the time with like basic stuff. The most recent one is Epic had a problem because somebody basically created a phishing scam. If you don't know what a phishing scam is, because it's old internet term, basically what happens is you get an email that looks like a legitimate email, but it's a fake email, and it contains a link that usually contains a virus or something to hack into an account information. It's fake. Everything is fake. It's all a front to try to get your passwords and information so they can steal your accounts. That's what phishing is. And that happened with Epic recently, and a bunch of, parents or whatever calling Epic like, hey, my account, blah, blah, blah. And they're like,
was this the whole V-Bucks scams?
Yeah, there's V-Bucks scams too, where people are like, oh, follow me, I'll generate V-Bucks. And they're like, you can't generate V-Bucks. It's literally impossible to generate V-Bucks because it's not on a code-based system. It's not like gift cards, you know what I mean, where it's based on a code.
But continue, you were saying.
Yeah, so anyways, they've been getting bad ratings because they've been getting customer support calls about just very basic internet things that we know about and have known about, but apparently this generation of parents and children don't know about. So I don't know who didn't teach them, but apparently they don't know anything about internet culture or, the very basics of internet security. So I don't know. I'm going to go teach an online class in internet security.
All right. Well, I love how the last piece of news talking about crossplay on Warframe just went into
phishing.
Don't get scammed on the internet.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's going to be all the news for us today. Try and check us out at least once a week. That's how often we try and do this. Thanks again to Case Hansen for your donation on Patreon. We're proud to have you as our first patron. But anyway, we are going to go ahead and get out of here. I am Ambassador Chris.
And I'm Ambassador Michael.
And we'll see you next time.
Goodbye, friends.
We're gone.
Yay.